Hello, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with RealityShifters.com, talking with you today about knowing that you're safe, loved, and inspired. Can you imagine consistently feeling safe, loved, and divinely inspired, no matter what's happening? Well, that might feel unrealistic, maybe inconceivable. It's good to imagine that it is possible. And it's something that some of us are doing our best to live this way every day. Now, this topic came up after I heard from my friend Ross Pittman from Conscious Life News. And he wrote to me, "Dear Cynthia, I love your latest article and video that you did at my request. It makes perfect sense and adds to my understanding of the nature of reality. My quest these days is to understand the nature of reality as much as I can. Even more, knowing who I am. And more than that, living my life in a manner that reflects that knowledge. I'm so glad we met. It's truly an honor to know you and to call you a friend." I feel the same way. Yeah, okay, then he says, you more than anyone I know seem to live your life from the non-dual space of your eternal self. Hey, that would be a good topic. Can you teach people to be like you? Much love, Ross. Okay, well, that was a great question, and I might have not exactly ignored it, but put it off. Let's say that. Because, I mean, I don't think anybody can be exactly like anyone else, and it seemed like a daunting question. However, I did receive a couple more direct queries along these same lines in the last week. And when that happens, then, and basically what they were asking is that they can enter into a meditative state, but then coming out of it, how do you retain that infinite eternal bliss, that state of divine oneness, and still operate functionally as an adult in regular daily life with all of our quirks and our character qualities and all that good stuff? How can we be our best selves when we're not in those pure meditative states? So with three people coming in and basically asking the same, different angles of the same question, I realized this is in our collective consciousness right now. So I took this seriously, and I'll give my best shot at an answer. Step one is recognize that it's really important to make daily, regular meditation an ordinary, regular, everyday practice in your life in some level. Now, choosing the type of meditation that works best for you, that can be a process, and it's okay to try different things till you find one that you really feel like, okay, I think I'm accessing that ecstatic bliss, that eternal, infinite quality of beingness, that oneness. So whatever it is for you that brings you there, that's good. If you don't know how to get there, my first advice on choosing a meditation that works for you is to combine a favorite activity. That could be going on a walk in nature. Like right now I'm sitting in nature. So that's an activity. And you combine it with a focus. So I'm out in nature, either sitting or walking, and then you can pay attention to your breathing. So that would be an activity and a focus, a focal point. These two qualities can be enough to bring you into this beautiful state of bliss. For me to access this infinite, eternal state currently, my favorite is just to slow my thoughts down to a stop. So I'll picture, my focal point would be, it might start with my breathing, but then as long as that's going smoothly, then I'm going to focus on thoughts that come in and go. And if you take each thought that comes and goes as not being you or yours, and instead realize it's just like a cloud in the sky, I'm just going to clear that thought out of my mind. And if you can track the speed of your thoughts, you might even manage to slow things down. Because you want to, for me, getting to that slowed down to a complete stop point is really cool. Because when there's no time, then it's just all love. That's my experience. And it's that connection point where I do feel that state of oneness, that non-duality that Ross was mentioning. So that's step one, meditating. And so you can tell from that it's not going to be an instant process necessarily. But if you've been doing meditation at all, then you're already moving forward in a great place. Step two, align levels of self. Now, if you've watched my videos, you've probably heard me talk about the head center, which is actually, if you follow chakras, it's the crown, the third eye energy center. And then there's the middle self, which we think of as the heart, but it's also considering the throat, heart, solar plexus. And there's the low self. That's the subconscious, the lower two chakras, which have to do with grounding and all of our intrinsic energy center, that when you do lower abdominal breathing, you're breathing down there. So when you align these levels of self, you can start to become aware of how you're really feeling about various things. Sometimes we get frustrated because what's in our head that we want to be doing is not what's happening in our lives. It happens to me too. We're all human. I think if you're in a human body, this will happen. So it's not so much expecting that there will be this instant breakthrough and you'll suddenly get what you had in mind. Instead, you might find you need to follow what your gut is telling you, because your gut, for me, it's a little bit stubborn sometimes. And so if I'm trying to heal something physically and it's taking a long time, which it does happen for me, then I realize there's something bigger going on. So go deeper, find the gift. Maybe let go of expectations that I thought I'd be doing something that apparently now I'm not. So I do recommend starting with this awareness that we're a multitude, that you're a multitude, I'm a multitude. It's like all these levels of conscious agency. And you can actually feel the ones in your body. You can feel if you get cold feet. If you're thinking about doing something and it just feels wrong, go deeper into that, listen to that, trust that. And it might be different than what you thought you were planning to do. But it's really good to start pulling yourself together into alignment so that what you need in your gut matches what you love in your heart, and it matches what you're picturing for yourself in your high self. And then, of course, there are higher levels of conscious agency. If you're doing a lot of meditation or subtle energy work, or maybe you're just a natural empath, then you can feel those other higher levels of conscious agency and tune those in as well, getting guidance from levels of yourself that have future memory of what's happening, that are connected to others at higher levels. And these can give us sense of opportunities, that otherwise we wouldn't know. And we can also pick up on clues, visions perhaps, or knowingness about being out of harmonious alignment at times, that it makes a big difference. And that can be useful even if it's not what we wanted to hear. Okay, step 3 is savoring each moment. So now that we've done this whole thing of meditating, we're tuning into that infinite eternal oneness. We're aligning all these levels of conscious agency and levels of ourself. You can just work on the head, the heart, the gut, keep it simple. Next is savoring each moment. And for me, I really feel a sense of caring connection when I slow down and appreciate and feel grateful for right where I am right here, right now. And there's always that temptation to get ahead of ourselves, to think, this is what I wish I was doing. And as long as you're in a human body, that's probably going to happen from time to time. But here's where I like the words of Carl Jung. He's the Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst. And he said, reforms by advances, that is, by new methods or gadgets, are of course impressive at first. But in the long run, they are dubious and in any case, dearly paid for. They by no means increase the contentment or happiness of people on the whole. Mostly, they are deceptive sweetenings of existence, like speedier communications, which unpleasantly accelerate the tempo of life and leave us with less time than ever before. Omnis festinatio ex parte diaboli est. That's, I believe, in Latin, and it translates to, all haste is of the devil, as the old masters used to say. Reforms by retrogressions, on the other hand, are as a rule less expensive and in addition more lasting, for they return to the simpler, tried and tested ways of the past. And I really resonate strongly with this, very strongly. This is a philosophy I've been living with pretty much since childhood, where I have been slow to adopt technological advances, despite getting an information systems or IT specialty degree with my Master's of Business Administration. And I was programming pretty early on in the late 1970s, early 80s, working with punch cards, programming in BASIC and Fortran and COBOL, and all sorts of things. But having said all that, I still don't have a cell phone and don't feel impelled to get one, really. And it seems to me that we can function beautifully by really getting closer to our connections with others, with the earth, with ourselves, rather than getting lost in simulations and devices and games. I mean, they can be relaxing, they can be fun. I'm not saying that we need to be Luddites here and give up all technology, but I do like what Carl Jung is saying, because he's an advocate for looking for progress from things and activities and ways of being and philosophies that have worked very well for humans in the past. So drawing strength from that can be a source of great contentment and satisfaction, just like gardening or being in the garden can be really sweet. Loving yourself and others is the next step, and really this is where it starts wrapping up. So when you've savored the moment, because you've you aligned those levels in yourself, you've done your meditation, next step is to love yourself and others. And this one, it shouldn't skip this. It can be tempting, like I just want to rush past that. But it's so important to override the distractions of daily life, whatever they might be, and recognize that you can choose to be part of this beautiful participatory cosmos where it seems to me the Creator wants to say yes and does say yes. And if you wonder what's going wrong with the world, a lot of people are asking questions that are probably not the ones that they truly wish to live the answer to. And so they're working out that alignment. So there is that noise, which sounds like noise when you hear it in the collective consciousness. But it comes and it goes. And the more of us tuning into what we really know, that our questions in our hearts, in our minds, and thoughts that we truly wish to live the answer to. When we're asking those questions and staying focused on that, and that means we are loving ourselves and we are truly staying connected with our neighbors, just who's with you, the garden plants, the animals in the garden, the people that live next door. Even if you feel like I can't stand them, or your family might be driving you nuts, sometimes it's the ones we're closest to that can feel the hardest to relate to. But it's worth making that extra step to stay connected, have that childlike sense of joy and wonder. And when you love yourself, then you can start loving others better too. Because sometimes the whole reason we're having trouble accepting certain people really is that we haven't accepted those qualities or aspects within ourselves. So this is the key to feeling and sharing these blessings of divine connection and eternity, that sense of oneness. And this last step is when you've made that connection to Source, you've integrated it with your entire beingness, you're savoring each moment, and then you're sharing it with the world. This is really the key to living a life of mastery. Now, we're all striving toward it. I would not say I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'm still working on it. I think all of us who understand this are working on it. And I've seen signs that this has been an old way of life that has been taught for millennia in most of our wonderful ways of being and knowing that have been taught to us through philosophy, through religions, and through all sorts of cultures on the planet. I've talked about it with the Hopi when I mentioned this article that I wrote, Comes True Being Hoped For Parabola Magazine's threshold issue. Because right now, humanity is facing a threshold. We are at the precipice or at the tipping point into a whole new way of living and being. And as we go there, it's important for us to bring our best selves and not fall back into unfortunate behavior. We really do want to move forward with this beautiful sense of confidence and courage and fearlessness without being tempted and falling into temptations to get grief-stricken, anxious and frightened, or angry and bitter. None of those things are necessary. And we have the tool set to access this infinite flow of love, which is the source of who we are and what everything is. We can connect with that. We can draw from it. We can align ourselves. We can be in this moment right now, and then we can connect with our hearts, with so much childlike wonder, a sense of adventure, and of course, always asking my favorite question, how good can it get? So I hope this works for you. I hope it's simple enough and powerful enough. And just like any other skill set that we want to learn, whether it's mastering a very challenging musical instrument or any kind of form of art, it takes regular practice, and this is the same way. But with practice, little by little, each and every one of us can become basically everyday practitioners of this way of living. We can be, maybe you might feel like a beginner, but we can definitely be on the way. And really and truly, there's not much better than to find out how good it can get when you know for sure that you're being divinely guided by unconditional love, that sort of sense of wisdom from that beautiful place of the point of creation, that eternal place with no time, no space, with that infinite connectivity. And you bring that into your heart and you share it with the world with such openness. No matter what's happening, in my experience, this is where miracles, quantum jumps, reality shifts, and the Mandela effect all come through, and synchronicity too. And like I said, miracles, so that would include the placebo effect. So thanks for asking all these questions, and until next time, I'm going to keep asking my favorite question. I hope you'll join me. How good can it get? Love you so much. Take care.